Today, we're going to show you that Hex is recycling Ethereum. 100% proof. It's literally undeniable. It's on the blockchain. Does this make Hex a scam? You decide. I'll tell you my thoughts on it towards the end of the video. The reality is I pissed both people off. The Hex fanboys hate it even though I'm a Hex investor. I just told you that I'm a Hex investor. The fanboys hate it because I'm not always rah-rah. Everything's positive, Richard Hart the Messiah. And then, the guys who are like, Hex is a scam, crypto wealth, you shouldn't be talking about it, it's a scam. I'll give you my thoughts on it towards the end of the video. With that being said, if you want to learn how to earn true crypto passive profits, learning how to build a real business that can earn you passive cryptocurrency, be sure to go down to the description, subscribe to our Crypto Passive Profits newsletter. You'll get an email confirmation. You'll have to confirm your email. Once you put in your email address here, hit sign up. You'll have to check your email, confirm before you start getting notifications, and you can learn how to earn 5 streams of crypto income. Specifically, there's a video you want to look out called the 3-phase plan. Take a look at that. All right. So here's what's going on here with Hex. I'm going to show you this. It goes from the flush address, and you'll see this is a flush address, and it basically connects the dots. The Ethereum goes from the flush address to this address to this address. And then from here, it gets split to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 addresses. And from these 5 addresses, it goes to these addresses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back into the flush address. I will literally prove it to you right now. It is a closed loop. It is full circle. It is undeniable. I had someone on one of my videos comment and said, I would need hard proof. And I'm like, I told him where he could get his proof. And he's like, well, I would just need to know for certain. Okay. If you deny after watching this video, then what are you in crypto for? Because you're denying the blockchain. Like, it's all on the blockchain. And I actually think to those that are in Hex, this is part of the defense at the same time. When people call Hex a scam, it's kind of like, I don't know. It depends on how you define scam, I guess, because it's all on the blockchain. You can kind of see it happening. So with that being said, let's go through this just so you can see it. Okay. So, that's not it yet. We'll get to that one. All right. So this is the Hex address. Okay. Here we go. Just so you can see, and I'll copy this and put it below the video so you can do it yourself. So this is the flush address right here that we're looking at. Right here, hex.win, as you can see it right there. And it goes from this address to OX234. So let's go look at OX234. Here's OX234. It goes from this address to OX6BC. From OXCBC, 6BC, to OX7A7. Now this is where it goes from here to 5 different addresses. Watch. OX7A7, it goes here. Oh, by the way, I should show you this. You want to see the amount of Ethereum. It stays relatively the same the entire time. But here's where it gets split up. So we get split up. We go from OX7A7 to OX35B. From OX35B, look at that. Boom. Back to hex.win. Back to the original flush address. Watch. OX7A7, it went to OX4A3. OX4A3, where does it go? Boom. Right back to the hex.win address. Nearly the same amount too, by the way. Again, OX7A7 to OX2A5. OX2A5, boom, right back into the hex.win address. OX7A7, OX2D7. OX2D7, boom, right back into the flush address. It's a closed loop. It's a full circle. Like, it's not to say that Hex isn't getting recycled. 100%. OX7A7, OX27. OX27, boom, right back into hex.win. So there you have it. It's a full closed loop. Now, my thoughts on this is that I mean, I don't know how you cannot say, that's my thought first of all. I mean, how in the world can you not say that Hex is getting recycled? I mean, Ethereum is getting recycled. I mean, I don't know how you can say that's not happening. Now, the first time I saw this, it was going through like a exchange address. And when something goes through an exchange, it's a little more circumstantial. You can't really, it's harder to prove it. But this is, and when I saw that, I thought, okay, it's probably not. I'm not gonna buy that it's going through a Bybit exchange. That's just not clear. That's not cut and dry. But this is pretty cut and dry. None of these are exchange addresses. These are just wallet addresses on Etherscan that you can look up. And so it's clear. Like, I don't know. I mean, comment below if you think there's another good reason for it. But now, with that being said, what are my thoughts on all this? Well, first of all, I will put this this whole thing down below so you can follow it for yourself. But let me give a shout out to Crypto Nightly Crypto. Now, here's the problem with this guy. He is upset, and you know, he's emotional. He's got investors biased, but it goes the other way. The challenge is, and he had a video about this, but no one ever watches his videos. The Hex community hates the guy because he used to be really into Hex, and now he's not into Hex. And most people cannot handle criticism. Most people cannot look at the pros or the cons of their investments and say, hey, here's what I like about it, here's what I don't like about it, and knowing what I know, here's how I'm going to invest. And that's kind of my approach. Here's what I like, here's what I don't like. Knowing what I know, here's my strategy. And I'll share with you part of my strategy here in a minute. But people get really upset about this guy, and he shows a graph here. Now, I don't know, I'm not confirming everything on this graph, but according to him, wherever he's created this graph from, the black, it shows the recycling of Ethereum. And I'm certain part of this is correct. That's probably where he got those Etherscan addresses, you know, on one of these days. I mean, he just grabbed one day probably and did it. Or a couple of days, over a couple of days, however long it took to cycle through there. But he didn't, what I just showed you does not corroborate this entire graph. So with that being said, I don't know what he was pulling here, but it looks like it could make sense. It looks like it could make a lot of sense. Like, for example, the purple is the organic. This makes total sense. People seeing the price go up, they start going in. Right here, it looks like there was no recycling that day. You don't know why that is. Maybe Richard Hart thought, hey, I'm just going to see what it will do, and maybe it'll go organically. Because I feel like if he was doing this, I can't tell you why he decided to recycle ETH. I can just tell you he is recycling ETH. I mean, I think the blockchain proves that. Like, what else? What is the other rationale for it circling around? And it even splits into 5 addresses and comes back. I mean, I don't know if that's supposed to be an attempt to hide it. It's not a very good attempt. I don't know why cycle through 5 addresses and come back through, because it's not a very good attempt to hide it. I mean, it's a very bad attempt. But anyway, neither here nor there. I don't know his reasoning for it, but it looks like he's recycled more and more and more. Now, is this all bad? Is it all good? That sort of thing. Well, I think it shows that the game theory, as interesting as it seems to be with Hex, it clearly shows the game theory hasn't been working yet. And who knows if it will in the future. Now, I happen to know that Hex has a very large community, and they are extreme fanboys. They love it. I promise you. There'll be hate comments underneath this video. They're not rational. They're extreme fanboys, and they listen to Richard Hart. And I actually like most of what Richard Hart says. I think he's actually a net positive for the overall crypto community. I think what he's said about Bitcoin and the awareness that he's created with the issues of Bitcoin are definitely spot on. I don't think he's 100% accurate, but they're definitely spot on. With that being said, what are my take on all this? Well, I think that it doesn't matter what the fundamentals are. I prefer to be a fundamental investor, but I've been investing long enough that I know sometimes the fundamentals don't matter. So my plan is that I've missed out on all this. You know, I watched Hex the whole time. Any of you have watched any of my videos? I was not someone hating on Richard Hart. I mean, I wanted to see this project do well, very well. I didn't have any problems with the guy. I understood why people didn't like him because he just rubbed some people the wrong way. I get it. He's very passionate, and I get why he's entertaining his crap. He's definitely intelligent. I didn't have a problem with him, but I wanted to see I stood back to see if the game theory was going to work, and it looks like it's worked if you just looked at price. But the fact that there's been Ethereum being recycled, it's like, oh, okay, this makes total sense. Now, the good news is this has made the price go up. If you're sitting in Hex right now and you haven't took profits and you know this is going on, what are you doing? Because the moment, and by the way, there is some other proof. This is the AA Lobby. If you come to the AA Lobby, you will notice that the bulk of this Ethereum typically shows up in a very short amount of time. Right after it distributes, you'll see that there's not a whole lot here, less than 100 for a while, then maybe there'll be 100 ETH there. I've done this, and then sometime overnight or in the morning, you'll come back, and all of a sudden, I haven't tracked exactly what time of the day it is to see if it's the same time, but it's almost always at like boom, there's 9,000 ETH sitting here, and then you'll still, of course, see it go up another 50 or 100. But I mean, the bulk of this Ethereum seems to come in all at once, like all at once. With that being said, there's a lot of implications you have to think about. What happens if Richard Hart stops recycling ETH? Well, the price is going to collapse. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get left holding a bag. So if you've made a profit and you haven't took something off the table, it's like, Bitcoin for Life, a YouTuber I like to follow who's a Hex fanboy. And if you're a Hex fanboy, you need to be following his videos because his channel's hilarious. But, he calls himself Malcolm Hex and, Richard Hart Jr. It's kind of funny. He's got a great sense of humor. But even he's like, hey, you need to take some off the table. You need to take some off the table. Like if you've made 50x, like what are you waiting for? Take some of that off the table. You made 30x. What are you waiting for? Get some of that off the table. He's absolutely right because the price, if Richard stops recycling Ethereum, then the price tanks. The other issue is he can't do it forever. At some point, he has to stop. It may be on the big payday. Well, he will have to stop by the big payday. He may stop before then. But he's going to have to stop before the big payday, but after the big payday, because he's not going to get all this Hex, all this ETH coming into the AA Lobby. He's not going to get all this at all. So after then, what happens? Well, then it becomes a standard project with, the game theory intact, and we'll see what happens, essentially. I think the overall price of ETH would go down anyway just because there's going to be so much with the big payday, the price of Hex. There's going to be so much on the market because the market's going to get flooded. So here's my thought. Is it possible that Hex could become a viable project at some point, maybe in the future? I think it's not outside the realm of possibility, but I wouldn't want to bet on it. And here's why. I think this purple line proves that the game theory hasn't really worked. Even right here, when all this recycling, it's not moving a whole lot. So if this chart is indeed accurate, I think this proves that the game theory hasn't worked, even though I personally thought it probably would. I didn't think enough to start getting into it, but I thought, that could work. That definitely could work. It doesn't look like it has. So that doesn't mean in the future it can't catch on. It doesn't mean if you get a lot of Hex in a lot of different people's hands that it couldn't somehow catch on. I'm going to own some Hex probably long term, but just a small amount and see what it does. It's always worth a flyer. Now, my actual strategy, I'm not going to, I'm not on this video. It would be too long. I'm not going to give a full explanation of my strategy for Hex, but I'll tell you the kind of the premise of my strategy. Like I'm not going to lay it out in this video, but I'll tell you the focus of my strategy. I'm focusing on short. I'm getting in like now, so I've missed the whole 50x. So it may go nowhere but down from here. But my strategy is I'm just going to do a little bit of dollar cost averaging probably every month. And I'll probably make purchases weekly to bi-weekly. And I'm going to put stakes. I'm going to focus on near-term stakes instead of long-term stakes. But I'm going to stretch out to longer term. I'm just going to get those near stakes in early. Why? Like I got a stake out there that's like 15 days. Why? Because my first stake I think is 90 days actually. 90 days or 45. 45 days was my first stake. And then I've got, them spaced out from there. because if the price goes up, I want to be able to pull something off the table easily without having to end a stake. Now, if you're staked, you can end a stake. I mean, if it's going to 50x and you lose 50%, who cares? You still made 25x. If you've won big, you can end your stakes. Like, I think your longest term stakes might be an issue, but you can, I mean, go look at it, do your own research. Don't just follow my advice, but I'm pretty sure you can end your stakes. I mean, at 50x, even if you take some pretty heavy hits, you're still probably going to be okay if it went up 50x and you were able to ride part of that or the majority of that. But I'm focusing on shorter term stakes. I'm doing small amounts of dollar cost averaging, just because it is going to be risky, especially knowing this. But is Richard going to continue to pump it? I mean, his ego may keep trying to pump this thing. And if it does, it means the price is going to go up. And if it does go up, I'm going to cash out. That's just the bottom line. I'm not going to hold this stuff and wait for ETH getting recycled to overtake Bitcoin. That's not going to happen. If this continues to happen, it's not going to happen. And the fact that recycling has occurred discredits the project, unfortunately. I think there was a possibility here. At least I wanted to believe there's a possibility here. But it discredits the project. Now, let me just say this, because somebody has already clicked off this video and left me a comment. They've already said, yeah, but there's Genesis wells coming in, so on and so forth. That is correct. This chart doesn't show that. That doesn't matter, though, if there's only one Genesis well that does nothing but just buys. A mass market has to understand and believe in the game theory. There has to be more Genesis wells. Now, there's been a couple of big buys, by the way, outside that Genesis well. I get it. And I think those people are probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking. This thing's going to go up regardless of the fundamentals, regardless of Ethereum flushing in the short term. So therefore, I'm getting in, and my goal is to make a profit on this thing. At least that's my thought. That's what I think they're thinking. But who knows? With that being said, how far out am I going to stake? I'm going to put some stakes out past the big payday just to see. I do think the price collapses hard after big payday. I mean, I think it collapses hard. If there's ever going to be a pump, an organic pump in this thing, it's going to be as we get closer and closer to the big payday. After the big payday, all bets are off. It's like, well, let's see what happens with it. The problem is I think it's going to lose a tremendous amount of value after the big payday. And then if it's viable, it may work its way back up over time. If it's viable, if it does work, if the game theory works, we'll have to see. So I will link Nightly Crypto's video. I will tell you, Nightly Crypto is very passionate. I mean, he's like, he's like, this is fraud. You can go to jail for this. Okay, first of all, I don't know that Richard Hart ever said he wasn't going to do it. And I don't necessarily know that there's a specific law that says he can't do it. And even though it does look like there's an attempt to maybe try to make it difficult to track by splitting it into 5 addresses and bringing it back in on 5 addresses, it wasn't a very complicated attempt if that was the case. It wasn't a very complicated attempt at all. When it's transparent and it's on the blockchain, I mean, I just think that that's an argument like, yeah, it can't be but so fraudulent. I mean, it can't be but so fraudulent. I mean, if you tell me that I stole your car, but I called you ahead of time, or I didn't call you ahead of time, I just didn't hide it. I just walked over there knowing you were home sitting in the front yard, capable of watching, or maybe I knew you were home sitting in the backyard and you were capable of walking around, and I just cranked up your truck and I parked it next door so you could still go see it when you look for it. I don't know. I think that's kind of hard to call it stealing. Or fraud. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of the blockchain. So I don't know about that, but here's what I do know. I mean, he's like, if you're willing to, get referrals on this, then you're just a horrible person. Well, that's just an emotional comment. Listen, it's transparent as it gets. I am going to give what I'm doing. You do what you want to do. The bottom line is this. If you go down and click on the link and go to the AA Lobby and you enter, you're going to get 10% more Hex. I'm going to get 20% of what you get. It doesn't take anything away from me. I just get the 20% bonus. That's how that works. And, Nightly Crypto says I'm a horrible person. Okay, God bless him. Move on. With that being said, he's got his own token. I'll let you check it out. I've watched it. I've looked at it. I mean, he's really trying to make the Wise token be everything the Hex token isn't. But here's the problem. If the Hex token game theory doesn't work, then why would the Wise token game theory work? I don't know. I've looked at the Telegram. I've looked at the little white paper. I mean, shout out to his Wise token. Go check it out. if you want. I mean, listen, I'm not loyal to Hex. I'm not loyal to nothing, but you, my subscribers, do your research. Take a look at what's out there. He has no origin addresses. He has no flush addresses. I mean, he's basically creating a non-profit product, and it works a little bit different than Hex. But the idea, the staking concept is there. Just all the stakes work differently, but the staking concept is there. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna see it in development, and I wish the guy well. I mean, I think his intentions may be good. He's just really upset at Richard Hart and Hex. And I get why. If I was in his shoes, I might feel the same way, but I'm not in his shoes. So I mean, he's just I don't know. I think he's probably overreacting. He claims that he's, filed a lawsuit against Richard Hart, and the SEC were already involved, looking into Hex. So I don't know what that looks like, how it turns out, but I wish him well in his wise token. He absolutely proved without a shadow of a doubt. By full chain analysis, which I just replicated here, and I'll put the link down. I'll put this down below in the comments. In the description, so you can take a look at it for yourself. But he absolutely proves that there is ETH recycling. And if you watch this video and anyone says they're not recycling ETH, you can just bring them to this video. You can just copy and paste this underneath the video. What else is happening? Recycling is recycling. It leaves, it goes exchange. It goes wallet. It comes back. That's recycling. It's 100% proven, and Nightly Crypto has proven that. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button. In one of my next videos coming up, I'm going to go on the LBRY platform. I'm going to post, and I'll put a link to LBRY down below. You can check out LBRY. It's basically decentralized YouTube, but I'm going to post my exact investing strategy. I was going to do the video now, and I pulled this up to take a look at it. And when I pulled it up, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do this video while I've got all that wallet addresses here, and I've got everything pulled up on Etherscan. So I went ahead and did this video, but go subscribe, follow me on LBRY platform. I'm going to post my exact strategy that I'm using personally to be able to invest into Hex. I'm going to show you and tell you exactly what I'm doing for myself. So thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to start a business earning passive income, subscribe to our Crypto Passive Profits newsletter down in the description. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Remember, crypto equals freedom, crypto wealth. I'm out.